Hello, welcome to my talk all about the fluid. This talk is the first part of the boundary element method for wave structure interactions on the fundamentals of the velocity potentials and the boundary integral equation. In this talk, I will first show the difference between the body flying in the air and the structures on the seas in terms of constructing the boundary element method, and then how we can use the Green's theorem and the de-singularisation method to establish the boundary integral equation for the wave structure interaction, and why the special Green function is chosen for simplifying the boundary integral equation, so that we can implement the numerical scheme for the wave structure interaction. As it has been shown, the wave velocity potential function can be expressed as this in deep water, with the fluid particle velocity component expressed as this. In this plot, we can see the fluid velocities are changing with the position and with the time. The structure on the sea could move freely under the wave actions in 6 degrees of freedom motion. If we compare the structure on the sea with the body flying in the air, we can see the differences. For the flying body, the problem would be same as a fixed body in a uniform flow, while the structure on the sea can move under the wave actions. The fluid domain is simply bounded by the body surface and the control surface for the body flying in the air, while the structure on the sea would be bounded by the body surface, free surface, seabed, and the control surface. The flow is steady and is uniform for the flying body, but the flow is changing with both the time and the position for the structure on the sea. For the wave structure interaction, the flow can be regarded as irrotational and incompressible flow, and the dynamic system is normally linearized. As such, the real velocity potential, capital phi, would be expressed as a time-independent potential function phi times the time factor as this, or simply expressed as this. The time-independent potential function phi is actually the complex amplitude of the potential function capital Phi, and they both satisfy the Laplace equation as this. Our purpose for the boundary element method is to solve the potential function phi, which is a frequency domain function, and for simplifying the potential problem for the marine structure, and for a better physical understanding, we can separate the potential into 3 parts. The potential of the incoming flow phi 0, and this potential function is the non-potential if the wave amplitude, frequency, and the water depths are given. The potential of the scattered wave phi s, meaning that the incoming wave would be scattered due to the existence of the marine structure, and in this case, the structure is fixed. The potential of the radiated wave phi r the waves are radiated due to the structure motions, which can be superimposed on the incoming and the scattered waves. Such a separation is made mainly for the easing the boundary conditions for the boundary element method. We will see this later in the talk. As a linear superimposition, the three potentials could form a perfect dynamic system for the wave structure interactions. That is, the structure scatters the incoming wave together with the wave radiated away due to the structure motion. For the wave structure interaction problems, the fluid domain of interest is enclosed by the body surface SB, free surface SF, the seabed SZ, and the control surface SC, as seen in this figure. The free surface condition on SF are given at Z equaling to 0 for all three potential functions. The free surface boundary conditions can be derived from the linearized free surface equation given by this. Here, the free surface boundary conditions are given in frequency domain with the wave number capital K defined with the wave frequency as this. The seabed condition on SZ are very simple as this at Z equaling to minus H in a water depth H. Basically, these conditions are the no penetration boundary conditions, meaning that the fluid cannot penetrate the seabed into the soil of the seabed. Under the free surface and the seabed conditions, and by solving the Laplace equation, we can obtain the potential function for the incoming wave in deep water, where the water depth h is larger than or equal to half of the wavelength. The potential function for the incoming wave in deep water is given by this phi 0, where A is the amplitude of the incoming wave, omega is the wave frequency, capital K is the wave number in deep water, beta is the incident wave angle defined with the x-axis, see here in the plot. In a finite water depth, the potential function of the incoming flow is given by this, and here h is the water depth, k is the wave number, can be solved from the dispersion relation given by this. For the potentials of the scattered and the radiated wave, these potentials are also subject to the body conditions and the far field condition. On the body surface SB, the boundary condition for the scattered wave is given by this, or simply as this. This means there are no penetration condition for the scattered wave and the incoming wave. For the radiated wave, the body boundary condition is given by this. Here, V is the velocity of the structure motion. This body boundary condition means, due to the motion of the structure, the fluid has the same normal velocity as on the body surface. The far-field conditions are given for the potential of the scattered and the radiated wave, both disturbance potential to that of the incoming wave. These boundary conditions mean that the disturbance potential phi s and phi r and the water particle velocities both vanish in distance due to the conservations of the mass and energy. In the fluid domain of interest, we suppose two velocity potential functions, the target potential function phi and the non-potential function phi 0. For instance, the potential for the green function or from the Rankine source, and both potential functions satisfy the Laplace equation. Using the Gauss divergence theorem, we have this equation. So the volume V is enclosed by the control surface SC, body surface SB, free surface SF, and the seabed surface SZ, and some mathematical manipulations as well as the application of the Laplace equation. So we can obtain the Green's theorem as this. This Green's theorem is a very important and the fundamental equation for the boundary element method. However, this Green's theorem is only valid in 3D, not in 2D. Due to the existence of the free surface and the seabed boundaries, to simplify the problem, the non-potential phi 0 must be carefully chosen, following the suggestions in the famous boundary element method, Warmit wave analysis MIT. The special Green function G can be chosen in deep water as this. Here R, R', and the capital R are defined in here. And in finite water depths H, the Green function is given by this form. Here R double prime is given in this formula. The reason for choosing this Green function, it is because this Green function could satisfy the free surface and the seabed conditions automatically. Thus, it could simplify the boundary element method a great deal. The Green's theorem is only correct if there are no singularities on the boundaries or in the fluid domain. However, when we choose the Green function G, there will be singularities on the boundaries when the target point P and the source point are constant, that is R equaling to 0. Therefore, we must de-singularize the singularities on the boundaries. For the point P, we can construct a small semisphere as epsilon to exclude the point P, so the volume would be enclosed by the control surface, the body surface, free surface, and the seabed, as well as the semisphere as epsilon. So the Green's theorem is given by this. Thus, we separate the integration for surfaces. We have this. Now, we will see how we can get the integration on the small semisphere. Since on the semisphere S epsilon, the potential and its normal gradient would be taken as constant. Thus, we can write the Green's theorem as this. Here, phi is constant for the S epsilon, and the normal gradient of phi is also a constant for the small semisphere S epsilon. So we calculate this integration, and we can see here the normal gradient of the Green function is in opposite of the differentiation with R. So we can have this, and on the semisphere R it's a constant. So we have this, and finally we can get the integration as 2 pi. And for the second term, the similar method can be used, and this time for a very small semisphere it is 0. Therefore, the de-singularisation on the boundaries would lead an equation as this. This equation is called the boundary integral equation. This equation means the potential function on the boundaries can be expressed by the potential function and the sources distributed on the boundaries. This equation provides the equation for solving the potential function or the strength of the distributed sources. It should be noted the integration on the surface should exclude the small area around the point P on the boundaries. See the figure here. Here, we further separate the integration on the surfaces. We can have this. This term is the integration on the free surface, and this term is the integration on the seabed. In the next 2 slides, we will see what we can get for the integration on free surface and on seabed because of the special Green function. In this slide, the surface integration on the free surface is examined. Since the chosen Green function G satisfies the free surface boundary condition automatically, which is given by this in frequency domain, or we can write it as this. Now, we assume the potential can be expressed as this surface integration of the Green function with the strength sigma. This surface is the total surface of the fluid domain. So we can calculate the normal gradient of the potential is given by this. So we look at the integration on the free surface and substitute the boundary condition for the Green function. So we have this and this. Then we substitute the potential and the potential normal gradient into the surface integration. We can have this and this. So if we change the order of the integration on S and SF, we have the expression like this. So in here, we can see the integration on the free surface the integrand would become 0 if we apply the free surface condition for the green function. Thus, we will obtain the integration on the free surface as 0. That is, the term of the surface integration on free surface is 0 because of the green function. Here, we are going to examine the integration on seabed boundary SZ. On seabed SZ, at Z equals minus H. The green function satisfies the no penetration condition at this. We assume the potential can be expressed as a result of the distributed sources on the entire boundary S. Here, gamma is the strength of the distributed sources, and the normal gradient of the potential can be expressed as this. So, for the integration on the surface SZ, by applying the seabed condition, the integration would become as this. So, we can substitute the normal gradient of the potential into this integration, and if we exchange the order of the integration on the surface SZ and S, we have this equation. So for the integration on SZ, we can see here, because of the green function satisfy the seabed condition, thus this term would become 0. So the integration on the surface SZ would be 0. Thus, the term of the integration on SZ would be 0 because of the special green function. This is the conventional boundary integral equation on the surface SC and SB, SF and SZ. Because we have chosen the special green function, so the integration on SF and on SZ will vanish. Thus, the boundary integral equation for the wave structure interaction problem become as this. We achieve this because we choose the special green function. If we separate the integration based on the surface, we have this equation. So this boundary integral equation is correct for any potential function phi. For instance, we could have the equation for the scattered potentials phi s as this, or for the potential of the radiated wave as this. These are for the wave and structure interaction. For the problem of the scattered wave and radiated wave,